This is Acts 2:17. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaids I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. I like to start off by saying, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aqua that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing, that the lesson is edifying. The brother Shabab Mwan back at you with another lesson. And I just want to go into a quick testimony, right, of my son, right, which anybody that follows me knows that my little baby boy didn't make it about a month ago, right? And yeah, what was crazy is that it was hard on my wife for a while. Not really that long, because it happened a month ago. It actually happened exactly on November 2nd. All right, so it's been about a month, a couple days over a month. And scriptures talk about how, you're supposed to mourn it, a couple days, all right, and then, you're supposed to let it go through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, all right. And me, I personally never really got the chance to mourn it. I mourned it in the middle of a lesson not so long ago, but I kind of got my mind off of it and just, kept going hard and prophesy, bringing out the scriptures and prophesying, so I don't have to think about things like that, because I have understanding, what happens, when you die. I have understanding, that the Lord's going to take away things that we want the most, Oh, basically, to just get right into it, what was crazy last night was that my wife's daughter, matter of fact, I'll say my wife's side, part first, because like I said, my wife, she was going through it for a little bit, and it was really plaguing her mind, and I would always catch her, basically in the bathroom, just going through it. She was trying to secretly go through it. She would try to act strong around me, but I would end up catching her being, in the bathroom crying about it, which is okay to cry. It's okay to cry because we have to let these things out. All right. But the thing is that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai wants us to let go of these things as quick as possible. You see? So, you know, um, the reason for that is because you have to understand the things that we're gonna go on these last days. See, the Lord is strengthening us up for the things to come. Learning how to, have us learn how to stomach things. So we don't have to, let our emotions take over. All right, and that's exactly what was going on with my wifey. She couldn't let it go, even though she the good thing was that she didn't have the child. And then after that, 3 months down the line, something ends up happening and we end up losing them, because shit, with 3 months, you could catch a lot of attachment, you know, and, it could be a little harder on you. But hey, he hadn't even come out the womb yet, if you've been following me, you already know the story, in the hospital. She ended up having a early birth. All right. So, he was about, they were saying 6 months, but I believe he was more like 7 months. All right, because of the way when he came out, he was just too big, things that they were saying that his skin was gonna be transparent. He ain't had no transparent skin. He had full skin, dark skin, everything, man. So these doctors was just already trying to plot on my child. All right. And ultimately it was Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai sparing him from evil. All right, which I'll just grab that real quick. All right. This is 1 second. This is oh, my bad. Salakia, that was me. Hey, 1 second. Trying to get the preset. I don't have no internet, that's why. I gotta be careful because we in Little Hatville. These niggas over here be pushing they be pushing brakes for no damn reason. This is, I believe it's in Isaiah. I'm trying to get to it. Yeah, this is Isaiah 57:1, and it says, "The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth to heart, and merciful men are taken away. None considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come." All right. So, through the spirit, I understand that the Lord had to do what he had to do. He took my son because he was going to be spared from the evil that's to come. All right. Especially, you see, he was supposed to be born in March, around February, March of 2026. You see, so hey, 2026 is going to be a hectic year. It's going to be a crazy year. All right. So, with that being said, it's going to be a lot going on. Okay. So, I believe through the spirit that the Lord spared him from the evil to come, and people that don't have understanding don't understand these things. You see, this is why knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times. Okay. That's why, it was easy for me to get over it, you know. My wife at one point thought that I didn't care, but she didn't understand that I'm just grounded in the mind, understanding these things, understanding that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai knows what's best for us, He's the judge and he's going to judge all things righteously for us, as long as we do what we're supposed to continually do, having this word, all right, the Lord going to make everything happen just perfectly fine, okay? So going back, she was going through it heavy and, was plaguing her mind, and I would catch her all the time crying, and I told her that she can't be like that, because then you give the demons, demons and emotions, because a woman's a weaker vessel. So the emotions of a woman is going to hit differently from the man, you see. But I could see that her emotions was taking over, you know, and at the same time you had demons trying to plague her mind, on the situation, So the one time I caught her in the bathroom and she was almost giving up hope type shit. But the water Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, he had me walk in at the right time. I had just walked in from doing the video. That was crazy. And I broke it down to her, and you know, uh, she understood it. She was soothed and she was comforted. Right, but she was still going through it afterwards too. The last time I really smacked her was when I brought out Ezekiel's wife. All right, because this is something that, let me grab that real quick. Uh, how the precept go? Give me 1 second. Desires away. All right. When you had Ezekiel, Ezekiel had to let his, yeah, see, this is Ezekiel 24. All right. And 15, right? And it's spiritual because my son's name was Ezekiel. So this was heavy and spiritual to my wife and to me. All right. It says the death of Ezekiel's wife is a sign. Okay. So basically, I'll just read it. It says, also the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, behold, I take away from thee the desire of thine eyes with a stroke. Yet neither shalt thou mourn nor weep, neither shall thy tears run down. You see? So, you know, I had to stomach that most of all, man. You know, as much as I wanted to break down and, and mourn about it, I already knew through the spirit I had to, eat that up. All right. Because for whatever reason it was that the Lord took him away, whether it be something I had to pay for, something she had to pay for, something that maybe none of us had to pay for, but maybe my son Ezekiel had to pay for. Or it could have just been simply because, like I said, the Lord is sparing him from the evil that's to come, you know? So, this, when I brought out this whole little verse, all right, and brought it down, which I'm going to read more of it, it definitely comforted her and she finally got over it, and she was just telling me, I just wish that I could have a dream, about him to know that he was okay. And, I told her it'll come, she wasn't getting it right then and there because Yahweh Bashem Yahushua didn't, see it fit at the moment. And I believe it was because she was still mourning it and emotionally, devastated. So the Lord was letting her get out all her cries, letting her, get it out real good, what I'm saying, before he actually gave her the dream, which she did end up giving her a dream. All right, but let me read this real quick. This is again 16. Son of man, behold, I take away from thee the desire of thine eyes with a stroke, yet neither shalt thou mourn nor weep, neither shall thy tears run down. All right. So the Lord took away Ezekiel's wife and he basically told him, listen, you ain't gonna cry, you ain't gonna mourn about this, man. You're gonna eat it up. You're gonna have to stomach this. You see? So that's what he did. It says, forbear to cry, make no mourning for the dead, bind the tire of thine head upon thee, and put on thy shoes upon thy feet, and cover not thy lips, and eat not the bread of men. Okay. So, I don't even gotta actually it says, so I spake unto the people in the morning, and at evening my wife died, and I did in the morning as I was commanded. And the people said unto me, wilt thou not tell us what these things are to us that thou doest so? All right, but let me see. Yeah, that's the point. I ain't even gotta go too much more into it. All right. Matter of fact, I will read a little bit more. It says, then I answered them, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, speak on to the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes, and that which your soul pitieth, and your sons and your daughters whom ye have left shall fall by the sword. All right. And ye shall do as I have done. Ye shall not cover your lips, nor eat the bread of men, and your tires shall be upon your heads, and upon your shoes upon your feet. Ye shall not mourn nor weep, but ye shall pine away for your iniquities, and mourn one toward another. Thus Ezekiel is unto you a sign, according to all that he has done shall ye do. And when this cometh, ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right. So at the end of the day, it was a sign to show you, the things to come. A lot of things that we're going to have a desire for, things that we love the most, all right, are going to be taken away from us, man, in these last days, man, especially right before reaching that kingdom. All right, because see, there's gonna be a whole lot of death, man, destruction, famine in this day. Okay, so the Lord again is training our minds to be able to let things go. You see, because it could get real hard, man. It could get real emotional on this ride, man. But we have always taught the brotherhood, and the few sisters not to have emotion in this truth. And it's not saying that you can't have it, all right, because hey, the Lord had emotions. Yahweh's about emotions. This emotions all through the scriptures, all right. But you just got to know how to fight your emotions and when to use your emotions. And then this is not the time for us to be using our emotions, man. All right, because the emotions will get the best of us, and Satan can use that as a playground to get at you. You see, and it can make you fall away. Next thing you know, you becoming like Lot's wife. I mean, yeah, Lot's wife. You become like Job's wife. You start trying to curse out the Lord. Because your emotions take over. That's what happened with Job's wife. All right, her emotions took over. And because she got put in a certain situation when shit hit the fan and things weren't working out in their favor, all right, she began to curse the Lord, man. So, these things were done to strengthen us up. We're broken down to be built up stronger and stronger every time. Okay. So again, going back to my wife, she was going through it very heavy, all right, which I expected her to do, because she is the weaker vessel. I just was trying to teach her to get over it as quick as possible because it could have been a worse situation. All right. The Lord didn't even let him live one day, man. He went straight to the spirit world. You know what I'm saying? And people might look at it as like, oh, what did you do wrong? Or, nah, so you can't look at it like that, man. You got to know the frame we in. Okay. Would I have wanted him to be able to, survive and be one of those, as the scriptures say, that children of untimely children shall be born and shall be beamed up, 3 months, 4 months? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not what the Lord wanted, you know. And regardless of what's going on, you got to stay positive with these things, you see. So, I stayed as positive as I could possibly be. So she was crying, basically saying that she just wanted to have a dream, to make sure he was okay. And after I broke down that last, going into Ezekiel's wife, that was one of the last conversations that we had that was heavy. I told her, I said, you got to let it go already. All right. Now is the time that you let it go. Because the scripture says, you go and cry and mourn, a couple days. Okay. But then you let it go. And there's another scripture that says, go and cry. I believe it's 10 days. All right. But after that, a fool that continues to cry, roughly paraphrasing it. All right. I forgot how it says it. At the end, it says, but you a fool, the ones that continue to cry on it. Because see, there's people that'll cry for years. Something will happen and they can never let it go. And you can end up, killing yourself, destroying yourself through emotion, but you're a fool for letting that go because you have no understanding. I mean, you're a fool for not letting it go because you have no understanding of the scriptures. You see, the scriptures are supposed to comfort you and more, and you get over the mourning real quick because you understand what the mission is of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, so to make it a long story short, Salakia, I'm just rambling. So she ended up having a dream, 2 days after that long speech I gave her, that last one. All right. And, I basically, was happy to hear it because she said that in her dream, she seen Ezekiel in her arms. He was a brand new, baby. She was holding him as a baby, but she said he was speaking to her like if he was 5 years old, 6 years old. And it was crazy because my son was very advanced in her womb. When I would read scripture to her, to him, he would go crazy in the womb. If I said, tell me if I'm right, give me a kick, he will give a kick. It's because remember, these kids are straight from the spirit world, man. So, he was a special kind, man. And that's why, it was a heavy attachment for the both of us, But she ended up having a dream, and basically in the dream, he told her, he said, Mommy, everything is okay, So it comforted her, and it felt good for her to see it. And ever since that day, I could see that her countenance changed. I could see that the emotions left, And it was all because Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah wanted it in that manner. You see, he wanted her to be able to, mourn it out. And after the mourning, okay, she was going to be able to, she was going to be able to have that dream, exactly. All right. So going into last night, her daughter ended up having a dream. And this is wild because her daughter didn't even, she didn't even get to see him. She never got to meet him. Her daughter did come to the hospital when she was having the first time, not when it miscarried, but the first time when she was having the early birth. All right, she ended up coming to the hospital and she seen her mother going through a little bit of blood and pushing out, and she was a little scared. But we took her. My mother ended up taking her, and all of a sudden last night she woke up at like 3 a.m. and me and my wife was still up, and she went to the bathroom and she was crying, and she was wondering, like, me and her was wondering, like, damn, what the hell wrong with Anna, because she never gets up. Like, she sleeps through the whole night every time. Once she go night, that's it. That's till tomorrow. And she got up literally at 3 o'clock in the morning. All right, probably a little bit before that, around 2:30. And the first thing she did, she went to the bathroom. She started crying, and her mother was asking her what was going on, what's wrong, and she was like, I seen Ezekiel, I seen my brother. And she was looking at her like, nah, I can't be. What do you mean? Because she thought she was talking about her actual brother, like her brother that's alive, which, she's 12 years old and her brother is 14 years old. All right. So she said, nah, I saw Ezekiel, my baby brother. And she has, she's a little bit, she has a condition. She not, nothing crazy. It's just more of a walking problem and, speech impediment. All right. But she saw her baby brother, and she said that he was in another world because she was scared. She I guess because she didn't understand it. All right. So she saw her baby brother, she said, and it was in another world. And, first thing that came to my mind was, he was in the kingdom. All right. It was either the kingdom or in the spirit world. You know what I'm saying? But basically, he started talking to her saying that it's okay. Everything's okay. I want you to tell mommy and daddy that I'm okay and that I will see you soon. You see? And this is what, makes me, even is a big faith booster, man, because for her to not see her brother and didn't really understand what went down, she know that he passed away. And then, her growing up, she always knew that when someone died, they went basically to spirit world, you know what I'm saying? But she understood it as heaven, and she knows the names of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, and we've taught her little by little, you know what I'm saying? Feeding her in increments, but she don't fully understand things. So the fact that she even had this dream was wild, because he basically told her in the dream to tell mommy and daddy that he's okay and that I'm gonna see you soon. You see, and that's how we know that we at the end of this thing, man. You see, and that's why I was able to be rooted and grounded when he passed away, and I didn't really do too much mourning, because I understood that my son gonna be in them chariots waiting, man. All right, he gonna be the first in the kingdom. You see, so I always tried to teach my woman that, when she was mourning and all that, like, don't worry about it, man. He good. Like, I know it's sad that you see all these children around you being born. Especially in my unit where I live, there's a couple of them that just got brand new newborns, man. But see, those newborns are gonna go through pure hell in these last days, man, because they don't have the truth. You see, so one of them is a heathen. All right, so they're getting knocked out. All right, and the other ones are straight Issachar. Okay, but because they don't have the truth of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, the Lord probably gonna, end up judging a lot of them. And, and it's not to be in a certain, not trying to be a person that's just saying all these people just gonna straight die like that. But that's the fact of the matter. It's because we understand that 2/3 of our people gonna be cut off and die, man. You see, unless the Lord somehow has them wake up to the truth, all right, and them realize who they are, all right, there's going to be no hope for them, man. They're going to be taken away, So I told her, you got to just let it go. You understand that, that your child was born with me and you being in this truth. So, hey, the Lord going to take care of us. He going to bless us hundredfold, as the scriptures say, man. Anything that we have, that we lose, that are forsaken houses, we're going to lose it. And at the end of the day, the Lord is going to bless us with a hundredfold, that back and a hundredfold, you see? So we don't have to worry about things like that and cry about things like that, man. But it was definitely heavy, all right, that she had that dream and said that we're going to see our son soon, because the kingdom is ready to be, the kingdom is already prepared, man. It's here, okay? We just have to finish out the rest of this life that we're in, man, this life of evilness. We have to wait for this place, all right, to be destroyed in order for us to reach our rest, for everything to truly be okay, and it was just heavy, because she went into straight detail of what she was seeing. That's what made me like, damn, yo, she definitely having a dream, and the Lord letting her see something, and for us and for her to tell us, and ultimately, for me to comfort me even more, because I haven't had a dream about him yet, and I might not even get one, because I have understanding, so, it was a beautiful thing to have my wife have a dream, and then, her daughter, even though that's not her true biological father, all right, because she had her own father, and and I ended up dealing with my wife because her father, I mean her ex had passed away, so it was lawful for me to deal with her at the end of the day. But I still told the little one, her little one, that hey, that's your little baby brother, you know what I'm saying, just so she could feel like she got another one added to her, but in all reality, it's of your father's lineage, you see. So I'm not the father of her, so that wouldn't be her true bloodline, you see. But it was still beautiful, that she understood that that's her baby brother, and that he's okay, so let me do this and leave you with a couple of scriptures, all right, before I close out. Going into we can't fear these things, man. All right, we have to understand death. Okay, this is Ecclesiasticus 38. All right, 38, and let me grab it from, this is 16. It says, my son, let tears fall down over the dead and begin to lament as if thou hast suffered great harm thyself, and then cover his body according to the custom and neglect not his burial. And it hit me hard because I didn't get to bring home my son, and I wanted to give him a proper burial, man. But these hospitals came with a bunch of bullshit of why I couldn't bring my son home and all this. It was wild. I'm not even gonna get into that whole story. I just know that they was wicked as hell, and they they wanted to keep my son's body for certain reasons. You already know what these elites do with these dead bodies, man. All right, what these small hatters do, all right, with babies. All right, so let's leave it at that, right? It says, as if thou hast suffered a great harm thyself, and then cover his body according to the custom and neglect not his burial. Weep bitterly and make great moan, right? And use lamentation as he is worthy, and that a day or two, lest thou be evil spoken of, and then comfort thyself for thy heaviness. All right, so it's okay to weep, man. You're gonna weep 1 or 2 days, man, so you can get over it, all right, and show that you actually had care, and then after that, you move on. All right, you leave it in the Lord's hands. It says, for of heaviness cometh death, and heaviness of the heart breaketh strength. Okay, so that's why you have to be one to let it go for a little bit, cry about it, because it can also eat you up, and it could bring death upon yourself, and then it breaks strength. You see, you end up losing strength. All right, and next thing you know, you falling away from the truth and letting this thing plague your mind. Right, now let's grab Ecclesiasticus 41, okay? It says, O death, how bitter is the remembrance of thee to a man that liveth at rest in his possessions, unto the man that has nothing to vex him, and that has prosperity in all things, yet unto him that is yet able to receive meat, okay? point is at 3, really what I want. Matter of fact, let me just jump down. It says, fear not the senses of death. Remember them that have been before thee and that come after. For this is the sentence of the Lord Yahweh Shai over all flesh. You see, and that's why you can't fear death, because, hey, death is something that the Lord always had brought upon our people, man. And death ain't nothing but your spirit just leaving the body and you just being put to sleep, basically, man. All right, for a while. All right, what feels like a long time for us, it ain't nothing but, you know, minutes or a couple, you know, pretty much minutes to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You see, so if you have understanding of death, you understand it's just your spirit leaving the body, man. Your spirit itself never diminishes. All right, your spirit goes back to the heavenly Father, which is the Father of all spirits. Okay, it says, and why art thou against the pleasure of the Most High? There is no inquisition in the grave, whether thou live 10 or 100 or 1,000 years. Okay, so, you know, another scripture to understand the death and, you know, not mourn it, you know, as much, because it's something that the Lord always has done, you know, with our people. And we're going to come to the time in the kingdom, all right, where we ain't going to have that no more, you know, and I'll pretty much leave it with that. This is Revelations 21 and 4, all right, and this is when we're entering into the kingdom, right? It says, and Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. You see, so at the end of the day, man, you can't fear these things, and you can't be scared of death, all right, because the Lord is about to make things new. You see, he about to wipe every single tear that we've ever gone through, all right, in our life, all right, all the mourning, all the troubles, all right, all the pain, okay, the sicknesses, the tears, the death. You see, all of that, all right, is going to be taken away, and we're going to be living immortally. You see, so these things on this side sometimes have to happen, all right, because through much tribulation you shall enter into the kingdom, man, as the scriptures say, you know. So, you know, that was pretty much what I wanted to just get into, because I got to do this job real quick, you know. But you know, it was definitely heavy that her daughter had a dream without her really getting to ever see him, or, you know, because when he passed in the hospital, she didn't get to hold him. You know, me and my wife, he held him for a good three hours, you know what I'm saying, what, in our hands. So she didn't get to experience anything like that. And she said that she literally seen him. He said that everything gonna be okay. I'm gonna see you soon. He said, tell mommy and daddy I love him, and I'll see them soon, and everything is okay. And see, the kingdom is right around the corner, man. So anybody has ever lost anybody, man, just know that the kingdom is around the corner for us, and you're gonna see them again, all right, very, very soon, all right, and you're gonna be blessed 100-fold for going through the sufferings that you go through on this side, you know, and everything that you have forsaken for the Lord's sake, all right. You're going to get that in return, and 100-fold with it, you know. So that's pretty much the point. Just wanted to speak on that because it was a beautiful thing. All right, so Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh. The apostles, a great millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazal, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom.